Every single paycheck. Every single paycheck, you bolt on a new piece of metal. You bleed, you sweat, and you sacrifice because you have been told that one day this machine will print your freedom. But what nobody tells you is that there is an exact, mathematically undeniable tipping point when this machine finally gets big enough to build itself. A moment where your own manual labor becomes statistically irrelevant. The entire financial industry absolutely hates talking about this day because their core business model relies on you being a perpetual saver. You have been taught your entire life that wealth is a simple, linear addition problem. Put your head down, automatically deduct 20% of your paycheck, hoard cash until your knees stop working, and someday when you are 65 years old, you will finally get permission to enjoy your life. But let us look at the actual reality of that outdated advice. According to the Federal Reserve Survey of Consumer Finances, the median retirement account balance for an American between the ages of 35 and 44 is exactly $45,000. Let that sink in for a second. You follow the traditional rules for 2 straight decades, and you have exactly 45 grand to show for it. Why? Because we treat money like a chore to be completed, instead of an engine to be ignited. You are spending your entire life working for the money, completely missing the transition where the money is actually supposed to work for you. This endless, exhausting grind happens because traditional financial institutions aggressively push a linear journey. Work hard, save hard, add a little bit more, repeat forever. But true wealth building is not linear. It is exponential. People give up on investing because they measure the completely wrong thing. They measure their sacrifice. They measure how many hours they worked and how much they deprived themselves. But you should not be measuring your sacrifice. You should be measuring the shift. The exact moment when your portfolio stops being a heavy burden you have to physically carry on your back and starts being the incredibly powerful engine that pulls you forward. That shift is called the crossover point. That sounds complicated, but simply put, it means your money has finally grown large enough that the interest it earns every year is bigger than the amount of cash you are personally depositing. It is the exact moment your money starts working harder than you do. You should hear this and think, oh, that is what it means. Let us look at the actual step-by-step numbers, because this is where the equation permanently changes how you view your boring 9-to-5 job. Let us assume you are an aggressive saver putting away $20,000 a year into a basic S&P 500 index fund, getting a conservative, highly realistic 7% annual return after inflation. When your portfolio is at $100,000, that 7% return generates $7,000 in growth for the year. Meanwhile, you are sweating, stressing, and grinding to add your $20,000. You are doing almost 3 times the work your money is doing. You are practically carrying the entire portfolio. But keep pushing. Do not stop. At $300,000 invested, that same 7% return now generates $21,000 in growth. Suddenly, the math flips. You put in $20,000, the market puts in $21,000. Your money is now working exactly as hard as you are. Compounding has officially shown up as your 50-50 business partner. Push a little further to $500,000. A 7% return generates $35,000. You are still adding your $20,000, but your portfolio just handed you $35,000 without you lifting a single finger, taking a single stressful Zoom call, or dealing with a single annoying boss. You are no longer the primary driver of your own wealth. And if you stay patient and let time do exactly what time does, you will eventually reach a portfolio of $1 million. At that point, a conservative 7% return generates $70,000 in a single year. Your $20,000 contribution is now mathematically irrelevant. It is a tiny, practically invisible footnote. Your portfolio is generating more than 3 times what you were adding. This is the crossover point in its purest form. But here is the secret that completely short-circuits the brain of a chronic saver. What happens if you hit that middle checkpoint, say $300,000, and you just stop? What happens if you completely cut the engine, permanently cancel your retirement deposits and start spending all your extra money today. In the financial world, this tactical shift is called coast fire. That sounds complicated, but simply put, it means you have invested enough money early in your life that you can completely step off the gas pedal, let compounding take the wheel for the next few decades, and still cross the finish line as a multimillionaire. The absolute hardest part of coast fire is not hitting the actual number. It is the psychological terror of actually turning off the savings tap. You are so heavily conditioned to save that the idea of spending your money feels like a crime. But the math does not care about your guilt. Let us give you the exact mathematical framework to calculate your own personal tipping point. Let's say your ultimate goal is to retire at age 65 with $1.5 million. That gives you roughly $60,000 a year to live on, forever, without ever running out of money. If you are 25 years old right now, you have 40 years for your money to grow. How much do you need to have invested today to never save another single penny for the rest of your life? $100,000. If you have 100 grand invested in a broad market fund at age 25 and you never add another dollar, that money will conservatively grow by almost 15 times its original size. It will comfortably reach nearly $1.5 million by the time you are 65. Stopping does not break the system. It barely even slows it down. If you are following along with these numbers, notice the massive trend as we age. Because time is your absolute biggest multiplier. Delaying just a single decade drastically changes the math. Now, you might be thinking, how do I figure this out for my own age without staring at a complicated spreadsheet? Here is your extremely simple back-of-the-napkin mental math trick to check your number right now. It is based on the rule of 72, which basically proves that money invested at a 7% return will double roughly every 10 years. So start with your finish line. If you want $1.5 million at age 65, just work backward in 10-year chunks, cutting the number exactly in half each time. At age 55, you need half of that, which is $750,000. At age 45, cut it in half again, you need $375,000. At age 35, cut it in half one more time, you need roughly $187,000. Think about the profound reality of this. If you have just under 200 grand invested at age 35, why on earth are you still working 80 hours a week trying to get a stressful corporate promotion just so you can blindly save more for retirement? Your retirement is already fully funded. The mechanics are already in motion. The machine is running. All you have to do is not actively sabotage it. So how do you actually execute this shift and break permanently out of the perpetual saver trap? We have spent enough time looking at the theoretical math of wealth. Now it is time to directly translate those broad concepts into your own personal execution. To bring this reality into your own bank accounts, there are 3 highly actionable steps. First, identify your personal stopping condition using that halving trick we just talked about. Decide exactly what your ultimate retirement number is. For most people, $1.5 to $2 million is plenty to live a fantastic life. Then, work backward to find out what your target coast fire number is for your current exact age. Second, optimize the machine with concrete allocations. You cannot reach the crossover point by stubbornly hoarding cash in a high-yield savings account because inflation will systematically eat your engine blocks. You must deliberately move from merely saving to owning actual income-generating assets. You need a mix of broad market index funds and specialized tax-advantaged accounts like the Roth IRA or the health savings account. That sounds complicated, but simply put, it means using special government-approved buckets that legally allow your money to grow completely tax-free forever. When your portfolio eventually prints massive amounts of cash, the IRS cannot touch a single solitary cent. Every single dollar stays yours. Third, overcome the psychological switch. You absolutely have to identify your micro checkpoints to deprogram your brain from the saving mindset. The big, distant goal of financial freedom is way too far away to keep you motivated on a random rainy Tuesday. You need immediate milestones. Your first real goal is $10,000 invested. When you hit that, you deeply realize the system actually works. Your second goal is $100,000 invested. That is the moment your money starts having genuinely good years entirely on its own. Your third goal is the crossover point itself, the exact moment your investments logically grow more in a single year than your actual salary. If you make $80,000 a year and your portfolio grows by $100,000, your money just out-earned you. You are officially the second highest earner in your own household. And finally, you hit your coast fire number. This is exactly where the profound psychological shift happens. Once you hit that specific number, you do not necessarily march into your boss's office, flip a desk, and quit your job. You just stop worrying. You finally gain the ultimate leverage. When your retirement is completely mathematically funded, you are no longer a desperate hostage to your paycheck. You can choose to step down into a lower-stress job that you actually love, even if it pays drastically less. You can confidently take massive career risks. You can proudly spend your entire paycheck on experiences, travel, and your family today because the heavy lifting for your future is already totally done. Let us bring all of this together, because understanding this concept is the ultimate difference between a life of anxiety and a life of actual freedom. The most dangerous trap in personal finance is believing that your relationship with money has to be purely transactional forever. You give up your precious time, they give you a little bit of money, and you blindly lock that money in a vault hoping it saves you decades from now. But the crossover point permanently shatters that transactional loop. You transition into a compounding relationship with your future. The actual goal was never to work endlessly until your body gives out. The goal was to systematically build a highly efficient machine that eventually makes working a totally optional choice. Your grounded next step is simple. Tomorrow morning, when you look at your net worth, stop obsessing over how much you managed to painfully scrape together and save this month. Start tracking how much your money earned on its own. Every $10,000 you add in those crucial early years is pure leverage on your future time. It is a direct down payment on the exact version of your life where you wake up on a random Monday morning and choose exactly how you want to spend your entire day. The crossover point is where that beautiful choice finally begins. It will not send you a loud push notification on your phone when it happens. It just quietly, beautifully arrives. You do not need to be filthy rich to be completely free. You just need to reach the absolute point where your money is the hardest worker in the room. But remember, genuine freedom does not come from just blindly dumping your hard-earned money into any random stock on Wall Street. It comes from deliberately owning the right income-generating assets. If you want to see exactly which 3 specific dividend funds can actually help you get to your crossover point significantly faster, then you need to watch the next video right here. See you there.